$16 billion. That's what Group M says is going to go into political advertising during the 2024 general election cycle. It's a wonderful amount of money for digital media after a few, let's be pretty honest, kind of tough years, lots of layoffs, consolidation in the publishing space. But there is a ton of risk associated with that spend. You've got potentially objectionable, inflammatory content around sensitive subject matter, abortion, gun control, immigration. You've got potential regulatory issues. And then, yes, AI-generated content and deepfakes, the Argentinian presidential elections, AI-generated content and ads were all over the place. And we just saw the big issue with Rishi Sunak, Prime Minister of UK, being used, his image and manipulated video used to do scams. So these are all big dangers going into the 2024 election. Corey, you've been helping ad tech platforms wade this space for years, several election cycles now. How have they evolved their approach to this lucrative but really risky space?
Yeah, I mean, I think because there's so much money in it, like it's definitely something that everybody kind of wants a part of. But as there's more money and more focus in it, there's more regulations coming. I think there's more proposed to that regulation. I think, this year there's already more concerns than there was in 2020 about, especially at the state level, right? How these things are being approached by different states. Different states have different laws around what needs to be disclosed, what needs to be reported. I think the way that we handle this election is going to directly impact programmatic and digital in the future because there is so much money in it now. Now we have that attention. And I think when we have that attention, it's just a matter of time before we regulate. And I think we kind of got in trouble in as an industry with how we handled privacy and really needed to walk that back. I think you kind of said we could self-police, and I think a lot of people disagreed once the light was shone into that part of the world. And I think we could run into these same challenges here if we're not responsible. I think a lot of candidates will have something in their platforms about how they approach big tech, about how they approach misinformation, disinformation, these kind of things. And the more responsible we are with this election is definitely going to impact how we can self-regulate and how we can continue down that path for the next one. If we totally screw that up, I mean, I think we're going to see it on the back end. A lot of things that are changing the way we do it, just kind of like privacy. I think ad content, particularly in the political sector, being sensitive and impacting democracy directly, will be under scrutiny. And kind of the results of this year and what we end up doing and all the reports that come out next year about what we did or didn't do, I think are very much going to impact us going forward.
Okay, so do you have some advice for pubs and platforms? They want the spend, but they don't want the risk. What can they do?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to, have, and I've said this on, previous talks, and it's kind of something I harp on all the time, but you have to have a process in place, right? You have to have a policy in place. You have to understand what it is you do allow, what it is you don't. You have to align that with your corporate values. You have to align that with your audience's values. And then you need a process to actually be able to do something. I think just taking it and saying we'll see what happens and we'll deal with it is probably the worst way to do it. I think, setting up and saying, these are the kind of things we allow, this is our process, and we're reviewing everything. And then actually doing that, I think is going to be the best way forward. And it's wow, that's a lot. That's cumbersome. That can be expensive. It can be, but there's a lot of money on the table to be had if it's done right. And so I think it's not just kind of seeing what comes, but understanding this is coming. There's a lot of opportunity there, a lot of money there. What kind of policies do we want to put in place as an organization? What kind of rules do we have to follow in the industry or the country? And are we actually having a review process that lets us verify everything here and make sure that it is following those policies and that we're not serving things we shouldn't be and getting in trouble both from our consumers and for our democracy and also for our companies and our brands.